Interesting. I want to say scary, but maybe exciting. Who knows? Sultan Megji, thank you for joining. Scientists in Australia have received a massive military grant to fuse human brain cells with AI. One scientist involved saying the project, quote, merges the fields of artificial intelligence and synthetic biology to create programmable biological computing platforms. Sultan Megji is an AI expert and professor at Duke University. He joins me now. Listen, this is incredibly important work, I'm sure. It's also scary to someone like me. I didn't know you could grow brain cells. I did not know you could grow brain cells, and they apparently could play the game, a ping pong computer game. So explain to me what this is.
Well, it's an interesting area, right? And it's something that we've been working on for decades now. For so many years, we've been trying to get artificial intelligence to mimic the human brain, which is the best computer out there. Yeah. And this is a great next step. But what really it's trying to do is two things. One is to help us make better hardware so that the computers that are running our AI systems today are faster, more reliable, easier, cheaper, things like that. And then the second is to actually make the AI systems behave more like humans, to have smarter intelligence, because we're really at this issue where AI systems don't really know how to learn as well as a human brain does.
I want to stay on this for a second. These programmable brain cells, are they carbon-based biological matter? Is that really what this is?
Well, you've got a couple of different versions of it, but yeah, in some cases you have a model, so they have a computer chip that mimics how a human brain operates, so that's kind of the more silicon side of things. And then in some cases you have actual biological cells that, look not too dissimilar from a human or a pig, sometimes they use, that are just there to receive electrical signals, just like a human brain cell does, and then the electrical signal that comes out controls other computers.
Well, we've shown all morning this list of companies that are saying they're doing this kind of creed to say we're going to do a self-check on AI. Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, OpenAI. What are the kind of moral problems here? If you take this a step further and talk about growing biological matter that can be used as a brain for a computer, and now you have these companies kind of saying we're going to do a safety code. Could we get into a place like where we were with stem cells a few decades ago?
Well, it's an interesting parallel because, the regulatory system here in the United States hasn't been updated in a while to deal with artificial intelligence, right? And that's why you see these 7 companies kind of just agreeing with whatever the Biden administration wants to say. But, stem cells actually have regulations around it. There are a lot of rules about what you can do with biological cells, so it changes the game there.
Consciousness by growing brains in a jar and connecting them to a computer made from stem cells that were stimulated in a special way to form neural tissue, which grew and eventually formed structures and even brainwave activity similar to that of a premature human baby. They then hooked up this brain into a computer, connecting it into a virtual world where it learned to play Pong completely from scratch. I want you to realize what this means. Like, this isn't a computer bot that was pre-programmed to know exactly how to play the game. That's easy. It's an organic brain that they grew themselves that was given Pong with no instructions, and it just taught itself how to play, which is honestly nothing new. That's just AI, but this is organic AI, which happens to learn quicker and is also more energy efficient than traditional AI. It learned to play Pong in about 10 to 15 rallies, when a regular computer AI would take around 5,000. Albeit the computer AI can simulate those 5,000 rallies much quicker, but that takes a lot more computing power, which is sorta our main bottleneck with AI at the moment. Energy. This is organoid intelligence. Take human brain cells, grow them in a petri dish, and then use computers to train them just like AI. Naturally, there are ethical concerns rising as there is surmounting evidence showing us that these are conscious, like a human. Even the scientists working on it themselves admit these organoids are sentient. They took it a step further and tested out these organoid brains inside real physical robots, feeding them the sensory input of everything the robot experiences. And since the computer chip running it is organic brain matter, this technically by definition is a cyborg. Then there are companies like Final Spark that let you rent server space on these organoid brains, which essentially act like organic CPUs. You can even see live streams of the brain computers you're renting out. And now this next part right here, what they're doing here might actually prove simulation theory. So they have this virtual butterfly simulation that's controlled by the organoid brains, meaning the brains feel and experience everything the butterflies do. Again, the brains weren't trained or programmed how to be a butterfly. Just like they did with Pong, they were just fed the sensory feelings of being butterflies and kind of figured out themselves how to flap their wings and just exist. Much the same way you weren't pre-programmed to walk or talk. You experienced sensory inputs in the forms of sight, sounds, touch, and learned, taught yourself along the way. This is an organic brain being fed computer data to make it believe it actually exists in a simulated world, and it's also likely sentient. This company essentially just created the Matrix for butterflies, and its consciousness is available for you to rent out. And when no one's using it, it still just continues to exist with no human interaction whatsoever. If the brains really are conscious, as the scientists suggest, they're not gonna know they're this organoid computer brain in a lab hooked up to a virtual simulation. They're gonna believe that they really are that butterfly. If that's the case, what's stopping all of us from being our own organoid brains in some lab in a different dimension? Meaning this, everything we see and experience right now is our own simulation that we've been plugged into, except we're not butterflies, we're humans. And everything we do, every decision we make is not by our own free will, but by some, I don't know, fifth dimensional entity renting server space in our brains, just the same way this Final Spark neural platform lets us do. And when we sleep, maybe our idle brain computational power is used for other purposes, which we experience as dreams. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. You gotta sleep tonight. Are we really brain organoids, existing in our own petri dishes, connected to and experiencing a fully virtual, simulated world? Because we just pulled it off. And according to simulation theory, if we're capable of creating virtual simulated realities, then chances are we're already living in one.
Talking about a computer made partly out of living human brain cells, actual living neurons, plus silicon hardware, working together to form what they're calling synthetic biological intelligence. This new form of AI, or SBI for short, is not just some sci-fi concept. It's real, and it's been officially launched. Vertical Labs revealed the CL1 at an event in Barcelona on March 2nd, 2025, and they say it's going to revolutionize everything from drug discovery to disease modeling to how we might build future robotics and automation systems. We're talking about a computer.
AI, artificial intelligence, and stem cell research have emerged as two groundbreaking fields that hold immense potential to revolutionize various aspects of medicine, biology, and healthcare. AI refers to the simulation of human intelligence processes by machines.
Computer that's run off of blood cells and skin cells of humans turned into stem cells, and it powers the computer. I never heard of such a thing till about 3 days ago. This is insane, and it's available.
This is the world's first commercial biological computer, running on living human cells. The CL1 computer is the brainchild of Melbourne-based Cortical Labs.
This is where the neurons would be embedded in.
CEO and founder Han-Wang Chong says it fuses cell-derived neurons with silicon, creating a new class of AI known as synthetic biological intelligence.
Unlike using artificial neural networks, we grow real biological neurons into networks onto computer chips.
It sounds like science fiction, but Han says the CL1 is capable of learning and adapting faster than standard silicon-based AI, while consuming significantly less energy.
We take blood or skin and we can transform them into stem cells, and from stem cells into brain cells or neurons that we then use them for compute and intelligence.
Han says the neurons grow on silicon chip with tiny electrical contacts connecting them to the digital hardware. And it's equipped with an artificial life support system to keep the cells healthy.
We have pumps like the heart, waste feeding reservoirs, filtration units like the kidneys, and we have a gas mixer to take carbon dioxide, oxygen, and nitrogen.
Han says the CL1 could revolutionize drug testing and personalized medicine.
With this kind of technology, we potentially could grow neurons taken from patients with, say, a dementia or with epilepsy, and test compounds and drugs that would then be personalized and tailored to that patient.
But Han believes the CL1's potential doesn't end there, saying it could usher in a new age of AI.
in the short term is we can use it for life sciences, for personalized medicine, for drug discovery and development. But the longer term vision of the company here is to pioneer a new form of computing where we can actually use these neurons that can process information with much quicker speed, with much less data, and with much more energy efficiency so that we can get to intelligence, but without the significant cost associated with it.
CL1 computers are destined for laboratories and research facilities capable of cultivating their own cells. They'll be manufactured to order and ready to ship later this year.
Just built a computer powered by living human brain cells, and it learns faster than any AI chip out there. It doesn't even need a traditional computer to run. This isn't sci-fi, it's real, it's on the market, and the craziest part, you can actually buy one. Let's talk about it. All right, now I know biological computer sounds pretty wild. We're talking about a computer made partly out of living human brain cells, actual living neurons, plus silicon hardware, working together to form what they're calling synthetic biological intelligence. This new form of AI, or SBI for short, is not just some sci-fi concept. It's real, and it's been officially launched. Vertical Labs revealed the CL1 at an event in Barcelona on March 2nd, 2025, and they say it's going to revolutionize everything from drug discovery to disease modeling to how we might build future robotics and automation systems. So how does it work exactly? The idea is that these neurons, which are grown in the lab from induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs, can be placed on something like a silicon chip that has electrodes laid out in a grid. In the CL1 setup, there are 59 electrodes, forming a sort of playground for these neurons to grow and form connections. Cortical Labs calls it a body in a box. It has its own life support system so the cells can thrive, filtration, pumps, temperature control, gas mixing, basically an entire environment to keep the neurons healthy. This is then connected to software that reads and writes signals to the neurons in real time. Because these brain cells thrive on predictable signals, they're basically searching for energy-efficient ways to respond, the system can reward them for doing something right and punish them for doing something wrong. Cortical's earlier research published in the journal Neuron showed that with the right stimulus, these cultured neurons learned how to play the classic arcade game Pong. The researchers would send electrical signals to tell the cells where the paddle was, and the cells would respond. If the virtual ball was missed, a random chaotic signal was sent back which the cells didn't like. If they hit the ball, the signal was more predictable, so over time the neurons got better at Pong.
AI, and it's made of blood, human blood. Who do you think's blood that might be? Well, let's go over here to a website called Child Watch of North America. And an estimated 800,000 children are reported missing each year. More than 2,000 children every day. An estimated 1 in 5 and 1 in 10 boys will be sexually victimized before the age of 18. Yet only 1 in 3 will tell anyone. 800,000 children go missing in the United States a year. Well, let's do the math. Divided by 50 states equals 16,000 children go missing in every state every year. If 16,000 children organically disappeared every once in a while, not once, but more than once, the odds are you would stumble across the bones of a dead child a few times in your lifetime.